This week on the Gadget Show Web TV, Dionne will be showing you how to edit your photos.
And John's testing out the latest home cinema projector from Sony.
Plus the latest in gadget tech news. Welcome to the Gadget Show Web TV. I'm John Bentley.
And I'm Dionne South. Now, if you've ever wanted to enhance those all-important holiday snaps, then stay tuned, because later I'll be showing you how to get the most from your photographs using simple editing techniques.
But first, projectors, and this new one from Sony. It's their cheapest projector yet to project in full HD. But is it any good? This is Sony's new budget Bravia projector, the VPL HW10. It offers full HD resolution for under £1,500. But Sony don't have this market all to themselves. For example, there are a number of InFocus projectors that offer full HD for under this price point, including this IN80. And InFocus currently make the Gadget Show's favourite projectors at this price level. So, how does the Sony compare? Well, let's put it up, look at some pictures and find out. The Sony looks very well styled, it feels very well made, and there are lots of controls on the outside of the case, including a wide range of inputs here and, crucially, 2 HDMI inputs. It's very easy to set up. You've got these 2 wheels on the top here which allow you to easily control the height and the lateral positioning of the picture. And the lens has a very wide range of positions. There's a normal sort of long throw setting, and you can easily widen it out to a really very impressive big picture. I'm quite close to the screen here. It's a big screen, and I'm managing to fill it very well, which can be very handy if you've got a small room and you want a big picture. The Sony uses a technology called SXRD, standing for Silicon Crystal Reflective Display. Now, unlike a normal LCD, which has light shone through it from the back, SXRD has a LCD actually mounted directly on top of a reflective chip. Light shone on the chip, it's reflected off through the LCD, and that's what effectively forms the picture. It should give you better blacks, improved contrast. And when you switch it on, you note that the blacks and contrast are pretty good, but it's not the first thing you notice about the picture. That's the incredible amount of detail. It is actually a very well-defined picture indeed. Shortly after that, though, you notice that the colours actually look very slightly artificial, which is a bit of a disappointment. You get the normal sort of adjustments you can apply. You know, there's a cinema setting, a dynamic mode, you can change the colour temperature. And there's also a very interesting set of adjustments called real colour processing. This allows you to split the colour wheel into component parts, red, green, blue, magenta, yellow, cyan, and tweak them individually. You can actually adjust them for position and range, which should more or less allow you an infinite range of colour adjustment. Unfortunately, I found that whatever I adjusted it to, I couldn't quite get the colours how I wanted them. Still, there are lots of other things to impress about the projector, and in particular, it's notably quiet. I think you'd really appreciate that if you were watching a long film in a small room. Let's compare it to the InFocus. The InFocus uses a different technology called digital light processing. Put very, very simply, there are a whole load of tiny micro mirrors mounted on the chip, and it's the light shining off those that gives you the picture. Whatever the technology, the picture is actually slightly better, I think, than the Sony's. The colours are more natural. It feels slightly more involving. However, there are a number of disadvantages with the InFocus. The fan's noisier, it only has 1 HDMI socket, and the lens has nowhere near the range of adjustment. You can't get that big picture in a small room. Also, the finish is quite cheap. I particularly dislike these thin plastic panels that cover various controls. They feel very cheap. So, what sort of impression does the Sony make overall? Well, I think the picture quality isn't quite good enough to blow away the competition, but there are so many compensations in terms of the quietness, the build quality, and the width of that lens that I think for a lot of people that'll be enough to sway the balance in its favour.
You know, I'm really impressed with this Sony. I don't know why, but for some reason I thought projectors would be really noisy.
Well, it is quieter than the InFocus. It doesn't have quite such a good picture, but it's got those extra inputs and crucially that wide lens so you can get a really big picture in a small room.
Well, if I'm going to spend my money on a home cinema projector, I definitely want one that's going to give me a massive picture on my wall so I can plug my Xbox into it or use it with my Skybox to watch X Factor.
X Factor certainly goes down well in our house. Right, now the news. First up, Virgin Media has finally solved its tiff with Sky, which means that from November the 13th, Virgin's cable customers will see the return of Sky's basic channels. That's everything from the important Sky One and Sky News right through to Sky Real Lives 2, although interestingly the agreement still doesn't cover HD channels.
And the second part of the agreement provides the continued carriage for Virgin Media TV's basic channels such as Living, Bravo and Virgin One as part of Sky satellite channels. And both deals will run until June 2011.
Now that's interesting because you're one of those people who actually gave up Virgin because you lost.
I did. They stopped it halfway through the series and I'm sure there's some others of you that were disappointed and I had to wait until they came out on box set.
You're still angry?
Yes. With the ever-increasing energy prices, Ecobee have devised a wireless thermostat which gives its user greater control when you're away from home. It's a touch-screen device that compiles all your energy data and sends them to you as regular reports in the form of graphs that you can check from an online website when you're away from your house.
But doesn't that mean you have to leave your wireless router on, not to mention possibly your computer while you're away, and doesn't that add to your use of energy?
Yeah, but it was interesting to know how much energy your house uses when you're not there.
Maybe. I do notice it has a flood sensor, which could be useful should the climate deteriorate while you're on holiday. You'll be able to maybe send the neighbours round to sort out any emergency.
There's no news yet when we'll see it in the UK, but it's expected to be released in the US in early 2009.
And finally, Asus, pioneers in the netbook market, have just announced a new budget model for 2009 that'll cost just $200. They've gone for a 10-inch screen. They're expected to discontinue the 7- and 9-inch screened models. And interestingly, they haven't chosen to try and make their new machine compatible with Vista. Basically, they reckon it's better to cut the price rather than try and design a machine capable of handling that rather bloated operating system. Maybe it's important for them to keep the price low because they're facing a lot of competition in this market, particularly from the likes of Acer.
Asus shipped 2.5 million notebooks earlier this year and they're expected to increase on that later this year. So I really think the budget model is going to sell really well when it comes out.
And even when it comes to the UK, it'll still perhaps be about 130 quid. So 130 quid for a laptop. Brilliant! Now it's time for one of Dionne's how-tos, guides that help you get the most from your gadgets.
Yes, and this week it's all about photo editing. Most of us use a digital camera in some form, be it a professional SLR, compact or mobile phone camera. But it can be frustrating when you get that all-important holiday snap onto your computer to find that it's overexposed, blurred, or you and your friends have suddenly got red eyeballs. But don't fret, there is photo editing software out there that can transfer your holiday snaps from dull and grey scenery to picture-perfect landscapes. So here's the Gadget Show's guide to editing your photographs. Most of us use our cameras in auto mode. It's a general setting that guarantees you good but not perfect pictures. To make your pictures look a lot better, you can doctor the contrast using a photo editing software. Picasa is Google's free photo editing software and it's simple to use with quick fixes where a single click can automatically remove any red eye and adjust colours and brightness. Now what you're aiming for is the blacks to be properly black and the highlights to be up to maximum brightness. If you have a relatively sophisticated software like Photoshop Elements, you can adjust the levels on a histogram for greater control. The histogram shows the brightness distribution of all the pixels in the photo. Tweak the sliders so the darkest pixels are black and the brightest pixels are white. Now's a good time to play with the colours. Adjusting the saturation will make everything look a lot more vibrant, but don't overdo it, otherwise it will look a bit weird. Adjusting the white balance will also make things look a lot warmer and sunnier. If the colours in the photo are a bit sickly, then why not make the picture black and white? A simple snap suddenly becomes a thoughtful portrait. Now if there's something spoiling your photo that you want to get rid of, like my picture of John, I've managed to catch the cameraman, which is a bit annoying, then you can easily get rid of it and do what the professionals do by cropping it out. It's really easy to do, you just select the crop tool, highlight the part of the image that you want to keep, press enter, hey presto, it's gone. If there is too much empty background in your photo, then try pulling down the top and pull up the bottom to zero in on your key elements to create a more dynamic panorama.
Now, you could spend hours fine-tuning your photos, but there really is no need. All you need to do are these few simple tweaks to dramatically improve your images.
That's great. Of course, what's really good about Picasa is it's good and it's free. Though I often find you use more than one program. For example, I've got an old Microsoft program which is really good at doing panoramas. So I might do that first, combine the pictures together, then export it into, say, Photoshop to do a bit of tweaking with it. Though you do have to watch out for losses on your JPEGs because you lose a bit of quality every time you save.
I can see the benefit in using two programs, but even using those simple editing techniques in Picasa make all the difference to your photos. What I really enjoyed about this process was I could make my own photos look a little bit more professional, and it was really fun and easy to do.
Good. Well, that's a lot for this week. Here's what's coming up next week. Dionne will be showing you how to build your own website.
John's got a first look at the new Panasonic Lumix G1.